Ladies and gentlemen, and those that don't conform to a gender binary, welcome to the Future Collaborations podcast. Today I have with me the person who has possibly the cutest music video on YouTube. I have Daniel from Amateur Ornithologist. How you doing, Daniel?
Hello, I'm doing really good. Thank you for having us.
I genuinely mean it when I say you have the cutest music video on YouTube.
Is it the one with the animals?
It's the one with the animals. it's
I
it's
didn't know whether
adorable.
I didn't know whether you just found another video that had me in it. Very cute. But yeah, we've got a music video called "The Word Is Love," and it's just people's pet videos. Asked people to send us pet videos online. I thought that that would be an easy way of making a music video. It was still a lot of editing. It still took us a long time to put it together. But yeah, no, thank you for watching.
Yeah, I like to check out people's music before I interview them. Otherwise, it would be I'd come at least I'd be a bit unprepared, which I don't like being. Ahem. So Daniel, sort of what got you into making music in the first place? What inspired your music sound?
So all the way back to being a kid, like my parents aren't autistic or anything like that. They're not musicians. We never had any instruments in the house and things, but they did have a record player and we had cassettes in the car. And so I was always listening to music when I was a kid. And it was things like David Bowie, the Beatles, Roxy Music, like really good sort of 60s and 70s stuff, and like Billy Joel and people like that as well. So when we went on car journeys, we didn't really have any money, so we wouldn't go to places necessarily. We'd go on like drives. So we'd like drive through the Yorkshire moors and things like that. And they would have like mixtapes on that they'd made. So all of that was like being played all the time when I was a kid. And I was really drawn to the backing vocals, and I always used to sing along with the backing vocals, all the sort of doo-wop harmonies and things in the background. And I loved that. So that's where like it goes back to. But then when I was a teenager, me and Martin Trollope, who has a band, American Wrestling, and who works under the name Harbour Master, we used to play like Weezer songs all the time. We used to sit with his guitar and we would just sing Weezer songs. And then eventually we started writing our own songs. We'd write hundreds of songs and we'd record them on, like, he'd write riffs and chord sequences and stuff, and I'd write words. And then every weekend we'd meet up and using like my nana's tape recorder, which was like covered in flour because she was always baking. We would record demos of the songs that we'd written together, and we amassed like hundreds. We eventually put a band together that lasted for a while called Squares, and then I stopped making music for quite a long time, about 10 years. And I made comic books, I made films, um, and then during the first lockdown, I started wanting to write songs again, and I bought myself like a little MIDI keyboard and started watching loads of YouTube videos about music theory and stuff. So I'd written songs before, but I'd always written the tunes and the words.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, it was during the first lockdown that I started teaching myself how to write the music. Um, and that was where like Amateur Ornithologist came from. So I started writing songs myself and then sending them to Martin and seeing what he thought, but not with an idea of like collaborating on them. They were my songs and he was doing
Yeah.
his thing. Um, and yeah, and then eventually I put out like an album, then I put out another album, and then I was like, okay, well, I want to play these songs, so I'll put a band together, and yeah, that's where sort of where we are now. It's been a couple of years, 3 years now of having a band. Lots of different people have been through the band. Hasn't been the same people all that
Yeah,
time in
that
3 years.
seems to happen quite a lot, to be fair.
um, but it's been really good, and it's nice to like play music. Every Monday night we like have band practice, regardless of whether we're at gigs or anything like that, because it's like a social thing for her as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we got here.
I think, yeah, especially, I mean, I've talked to some other artists, and it is sort of a social, and like you do feel some sort of camaraderie with people in a band, and I think that's important. Like, I mean, I'm like you, I love playing music, and especially playing music like live. I adore it. It's you get such an adrenaline rush, and I love it. So I completely, I feel what you're going for there, and listening to your music as well. There's a lot of emotion in it. It
Hmm.
is what I feel like. There's some fairly bleak songs. Like there is like oh, what's it called? Better Person, I think it's called, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's one of your, I think it's one of your older songs. It's very bleak. It's beautiful though, and I
So
think
that
like
sorry.
no, I think like the emotion in your music. Like I don't know how you feel about how you feel about your feelings in your music. I guess.
Mhm. I suppose, recently I was thinking about this. Some I went to see like a day of young women performers, and every one of them was saying, "Oh, I'm gonna do another sad one." And every song that they were playing, they were sort of making a joke about it being a sad song. And I was sat there thinking, do I write sad songs? Do I write happy songs? And I started thinking, do I even write with any emotion in my songs? So it's interesting you saying that. But that one, A Better Person, is about my nana dying and about like the impact that she had on me and my mom and the way that I act. And if we ever said someone was like her, she would always say, couldn't be like a better person. So that was like the phrase that I wanted to get in there.
Yeah,
So yeah, so that probably is like the saddest, the saddest song for like good reason, because it's about that. And
yeah,
the video that we made for that one, it's quite interesting and a bit sad to make it, because we went to all the different places that I used to like frequent with my nana. We went to a street which I hadn't been back on for years, um, and filmed just sort of static shots. Uh, and that, yeah, I thought that was like quite emotional for me to do it. Whether people get any emotion from the songs and stuff and the videos and things is something else altogether, and something that like I'm not always sure about. And I think that's because of being autistic. So I was diagnosed with autism a couple of years ago, um, and hadn't really registered with this for like my whole life basically. But I always knew I was different to other
yeah.
people and found things more difficult and upset people and things like that. But but yeah, um maybe I'm not always keyed into my own emotions in the songs that I'm writing as well.
I yeah, no, I get that as obviously someone that has autism as well. I was about to say suffers from autism. I don't suffer from autism. I'm very, very good at it. Um, I'm also very good at being disturbed by cats. Hello, cat. Um,
I've shut my cats out because I knew that my cat would be like climbing all over us. So.
oh, see,
But
mine,
I should
yeah,
have had her in.
yeah, no, mine will if I lock them out, they will sit and cry because I live in quite a small flat. But I have been distracted. Anyway, yeah, emotion. That's what we were at. I can cut that bit out, but I'm not going to. Um, Um, no, I think I feel very similar about keying into my own emotions if I'm thinking about something, but then I'll listen to something or I'll see something and like especially sort of things that have happened to me because I lost my grandma 2014, beginning of 2014,
Mhm.
and like I find it very easy to empathize with situations similar, especially now I know what that song's about.
Mhm.
I think that's why I found it so emotional, I guess. And I think that's a good thing because it means like even if you sort of don't feel it yourself, you know that other people can feel it and
Hmm.
can empathize with you and feel the same way.
That's honestly really nice to hear. I really appreciate you sharing. I think it was around about the same time that my nana died. Although I'm not the best at like dates and stuff, to be honest, but I think it was around about that time. Um, so yeah, so it's interesting when you write about something that is like around about 10 years earlier in the and there's still, because my brain works in like a very visual way, so
Mm.
all of the lines in that are little um are sort of stills in my head of things that happened, or I can still see like people talking and stuff in the past. So no, it's really interesting to hear your response to that song. Thank you.
You're welcome. And how would you sort of describe your sound? Because a lot of it is it sort of varies a little bit from song to song. Obviously, like I said, A Better Person is very different from a lot of other songs, especially on the your later albums. Um, how would you sort of describe your sound as a band?
Yeah, it's an odd one. I always just say weird pop, and that's because it I'm definitely aiming for tunes that people could sing along with and rhythms that people could tap their foot to, but the the words aren't necessarily like standard pop songs. Like we've got a song about jigsaws. There's a song about, and it's literally about jigsaws. It's not a metaphor or anything. It's literally about putting jigsaws together. There's a song about the Cottonley Fairies, which was a famous like hoax from the early uh, 20th century. Um, so we've got songs that are about sort of like odd things. One about like ley lines and stuff like that. Which I don't necessarily. Oh, something falling over in my room. They aren't necessarily all things that I like believe in or whatever, but it's things that I find interesting.
Yeah,
And also, I think there's some odd choices that we make in the music, and there's lots going on. There's probably some people would probably say there's too much going on, but like I think my brain, the way that it works, is like I'm always hearing different sounds and different melodies. So when I write in a song, there'll be little things that I'm like, oh, we want to get this in and get this bit in, and I'm trying to create something that um, like rewards repeat listens. As a band, um, we like uh, we have like drums, bass, guitar, and keys, but we also have a cellist who plays saxophone as well, and we've got a viola player. And the viola player, Maddie, she sings with a very distinctive sort of breathy vocal as well. So there's definitely things that, like, if you want to be really like surface level, we're like a guitar indie band, but there's like strings and horns and stuff, and I'm always try like we there's lots of like we use found sounds and sound effects and things on the songs as well. Um, so yeah, so that's why I would just say weird pop because it's a bit easier than describing it properly. But when
yeah,
I'm speaking to people who don't really like music, I do always say like, oh, well, essentially we're an indie band but with strings and stuff.
yeah.
Uh, because I think that's a bit of like an easier way to. Because we're definitely not a hip hop band. We're definitely not uh like a folk band or anything like that. But so we are like an indie band, but it's not like it's not just like chords and 60s sing along sort of tunes. There's there's like lots of weird choices happening in the music. And hopefully people find that interesting, but I think quite a lot of people probably find it off putting. But that's fine.
See, I really like it, and you mentioned like sort of putting things in so it rewards repeat listens. It almost kind of the best way I can describe the idea of that is sort of Edgar Wright-esque, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
yeah. No, I like that. Yeah.
In that, like if you watch Hot Fuzz 15 times, you're gonna still notice stuff.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, your music doesn't have a guy having a church thing fall into his head that I know of.
Well, tonight we were talking about writing a song about the Hexam heads, which is like a historical artifacts with a sort of supernatural uh, um, sort of story and legend around them. So yeah, so it's not that far from having that having that sort of thing going on,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, nearly there. Maybe a couple of years and a concept album about Edgar Wright films. There we go. There's your next album
We
sorted.
are very influenced by like folk horror stuff, which Hot Fuzz, um, even though it starts as like a buddy sort of cop film, it does become like a folk horror or a film, or there's elements of folk horror in it
Yeah,
with
it's
the
kind of
small
Wicker
town
Manish.
cult and what have you. So there is actually probably more similarities with I do find films and stories probably more of an influence on my lyric writing and the way I think about things than other music is, because I've always been I've always been interested in all this in like a visual mediums. So I always think about that stuff. And some of the times when I'm trying to communicate what I'm going for with a song to the other people in the band, I'm not always good at like doing that because I'm maybe talking like a different language because of all the other stuff that I've like consumed over the years. And I'm
Yeah,
like, might be like this. I want this to sound like a neon green light shining through the darkness, and it's like, well, that doesn't actually make sense to most people.
yeah. I think as long as it sort of makes sense to you and you understand exactly what you want, and I can understand like thinking in the visual medium, and like I was talking to you before we started, and that I've got a background in editing,
Mhm.
and I sort of know as much as obviously the cameraman. I'm the cameraman at this point. I'm recording the podcast, but and I sort of know what I want things to look like, and sometimes I find it difficult explaining it, and sometimes I do
Mhm.
have to do it myself. Like there's a background on the podcast. I did that because I knew exactly what I wanted it to look like.
Mhm.
And it's just one of them things where it is difficult, especially especially as an autistic person, to explain exactly what you want rather than just doing it yourself. But sometimes it is necessary. And I was wondering, like, how do you find your autism sort of affects your songwriting process and playing in front of people and stuff like that?
So there's a couple of things. One is that the band has quite a few neurodivergent people in, and in some ways that's great because there's a level of understanding and there's a level of actually will give you the benefit of the doubt because like that's a bit like something that I might do or whatever. But sometimes it's difficult as well because even though we're neurodivergent people who get on, we might have different communication styles and different needs. So it takes a lot. It's not just as simple as like, oh, well, we're all the same, because that definitely isn't
Yeah,
the case.
definitely not.
so, um, so yeah, so there are sort of communication issues when it comes to that. In terms of the songwriting, I think one of the things for me, so a couple of things with the songwriting is one, I find like I've decided basically that I can't do a 9 to 5 office job anymore, which is what I used to do. I used to work in the arts 9 to 5, um, for different arts organizations, um, charities that work on like a national scale or that work on a local scale. And I've had some really like good jobs, but um, it was really stressful and I just couldn't go back to that sort of environment now. There's so many things that makes complete sense why I found stuff stressful now that I've had an autism diagnosis.
Hmm.
And really, I only found that out because I started being honest about some difficulties I was having at work, like being painfully honest about some difficulties that I was having. And people started dropping into my messages going like, um, "You're like my dad, and my dad is autistic," or "You're just like me," or "My son," or whatever. Um, so so because I don't work 9 to 5 in an office, I make my own sort of schedule, which means that I can focus on writing songs and can do like a big batch of songs in a like one go sort of thing. So we've released 3 albums so far, and we're currently recording the 4th, and this is since like 2021. Now for some people that's just normal. But there's also artists who I meet locally who are like, "How do you write so much songs?" Part of that is because of being autistic and because of thinking the way that I do, I'm very happy to just sit down and go, right, I'm writing a song, and to create like a process. I've got a process that I can work through, and I sort of lose myself in the songwriting
Yeah.
and can like, yes, quite a lot of the time I'm writing rubbish, but then there's other times where I might start the day with nothing and end the day with like a fully formed song, lots of ideas for everything else that's going on in not just the melody and chords, but like actually the arrangement and stuff. Um, so that's really, really good in that I just have got this like one track mind sort of thing, that sort of autistic focus, and I'm I've decided this thing's gonna happen, so it is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Then when you start to talk about like collaborating with the others in the band, it really depends on the song because some songs I'm like, this is it, this is the sort of thing that I'm thinking, but like I'm quite open to what you want to do, and I can go with the flow on some songs, and then on other songs I'll be like incredibly like prescriptive and be like, actually, I don't want you to play in this section, and I want you to play this thing in this other section, and sometimes that can cause some tensions. Um, but I think the good thing is like in a lot of bands, it's like it's not with job. So like if people get sick of being in a band with me, then they leave. And if people want to still be in a band with us, but they're finding something difficult, then we normally sort it out like one way or another. I think sometimes it's about like like I said, it's like almost a choosing your battle. So there's like I said, there's some songs where I've got a really clear idea and that's what I want to happen. And then there's other songs where I can be a lot freer. But then there's also times when there's in my head there's like lots of rules that I set myself, lots of parameters. So there's certain things that I don't ever want to hear in an amateur ornithologist song. And really like the blues is a bit of a no-no for me. Um Anything that sounds too like standard or that you think could be like people could put together in like a jamming session or whatever, that is like not going to fit into one of these songs. We don't really jam. I don't like the idea of it. Like
No, that's fair.
I get that it's fun for people who play instruments, but I always think, oh, what if you start coming up with stuff and you get into something that you really love, and then I say no, thank you, and then everybody gets upset that I'm sort of rained on the parade. So instead, what we normally do is I'll write something and I'll send out notes and references and say like, this is the sort of thing I'm going for. Like, come up with an idea, and then we'll sit down together and bounce ideas around, and I absolutely love that. But that can be quite intense for the other person, so it's not to everybody's taste. Um, so yeah, so that can be difficult. But when it works, it's like amazing. And my favorite thing in the whole world is sitting down with one of the guys in the band, and you, by the end of your like session, you've come up with ideas that neither of you could have come up with by yourself. It's just because of you sort of banging your heads together for a couple of hours that you've got something really nice that you can both be proud of. Um, then when it comes to performing, I I I get a lot of like I'm very sensitive to lights,
Yeah.
so and that's like an autistic thing. Um, so sometimes when we're playing, I really wish I could just close my eyes or like put sunglasses on or something. We're very much not a sunglasses band. Like we're not like
Yeah, yeah.
a cool rock band or
Yeah,
whatever.
you're not like a
We did
surf rock band or anything like that.
no, we did all wear sunglasses when we played the amphitheater in like brilliant sunshine in South Shields. But generally speaking, yeah, I feel a lot of like pressure from the lighting. Um, but then you get some venues where they know about that sort of thing and they wouldn't point lights right in your eyes. Um, Playing live can be really stressful for me because of all of the organizing that goes into it. And my band's seven, include me, it's seven people. Um, so trying to make sure everybody knows when they're getting somewhere, what they've got to bring, what we're playing, that we're rehearsed and everything like that. Even though someone else would be like, "Oh, just let it happen and see what like it'll all work out." And there's a bit of us that knows that it's still impossible to get that in my head. So I find like gig days incredibly stressful. But then playing on stage, I love. Like I love performing. I Me and Maddie have talked about this about how like we might be like awkward in conversation and not always know what you're meant to say, depending on the person. But on stage, you sort of know your role. You are there to perform,
Yeah.
and people are there to listen
Yeah,
to you.
you're
So
almost like it's almost like not in command, that's the wrong sort of phrase, but like sort of you know the dynamic and you understand the dynamic. I get a lot of that the same like I host future collaborations festivals and stuff like that. And I love being able to like right this is who this band is. This is the sort of music. This is the sort of intro. The sort of little bit of information that they've given us that I've written up or what have you. Or and like I understand the dynamic is me talking at someone, and I don't have to worry that I've upset anyone because I have the words there and
yeah.
I know what I've written, and then I'll still go off script and say something outrageous. I managed. We did a battle of the bands on Friday night,
Mhm.
and I I I know my brain just went off script and just made a Robot Wars joke. I said that the bands were judged on style, damage control, and aggression, which was
Did you do a poem at the end and then blow a kiss with two fingers like Craig Charles used to do?
I should have come out with a leather jacket with tassels on.
The tassels.
Oh,
Uh, I would have appreciated it if no one else would.
yeah, it's fine. One of the bands is named after something that from my childhood, like this a toy from my childhood, and that made me very excited. Um, that made me very that gave me a little bit of autistic joy, and I think that's a good way to see. Like I'm like we're talking about your music, and the smile on your face that I've seen has been fantastic. By the way, it's been so
Now
nice. Just
or
when you've been talking about your music, just there's just that like you can tell there's just that autistic joy and you love what you do, and it's genuine. It's so nice to see, like, and I see it at work as well, and it's just like music is one of them things that I think it's a lot easier to connect with other people
Mhm.
with than discussing the big concepts in life. Like, don't like I don't. I'm not. I'm like you. I struggle to talk to people sometimes. unless it's about something that I'm interested in. I can talk for hours about the bands that I love
Hmm.
and stuff like that. I love all my heavy metal stuff. I went down to Birmingham a few weeks ago. I've mentioned it on the podcast a few times now because I won't shut up because it was brilliant. Um, but it's just like I can talk about that for hours, but I don't want to talk about the weather.
Yeah, no, I find that very difficult.
Yeah, don't ever talk to me about the weather because it's too hot or it's too cold. No in between. There's no in between.
No, I find that very difficult. I normally get into very deep conversations with people very quickly, and then you find out whether they're someone that you're gonna get along with or not.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. And I think learning about someone through like deep conversations or through like I said through music or even through like film or the arts or something like that, it's so nice to be able to connect with people like that through interests. And then you do see like people like you and me beaming, and it's genuinely it's so nice. And I think your music, and like I said, the emotions that I feel and the vibes, it's very vibey. Some of your music as well. That's the word I was thinking about earlier. Is the word
Mm.
vibey?
It's interesting to hear someone like describe your music to you because it's one of the things that you may that's maybe the hardest to like articulate. Um, and I think yeah, whenever I'm writing like a press release or something for a release, I normally put something out on Facebook and say like, "Oh, will anybody listen to this like album or these singles and just tell us what words it brings to mind or any," because it's really hard to get out of your own head with what you are like aiming for or what have you. Um, and also, like, just because you've got certain references doesn't mean that those are the references that everybody else um, is like it brings to mind with them. So yeah, so it's really interesting, but definitely talking about like connecting with people through music. Maddie, who plays viola, was the only person who's been in the band that I've known prior to being in the band. Um, we were I was running a filmmaking project, and she was one of the artists who was chosen to take part. So I worked like like managing that project that she was on, and then we made friends through that. And then when I was putting the band together, I was like, "Oh, do you want to come down and like play viola? Like, you don't have to be a proper member of the band or anything like that. Like, just see how it goes." And then she just loved it, and we've become much better friends like through playing in the band together. But then like other people in the band I wouldn't have even known before. And when I first put the band together, I was like a germ phobe like before COVID.
Yeah.
So it took me like an extra year to come out of sort of lockdown. And again, like how didn't I know that I was autistic? And and it was only like because I wanted to play as part of a band that I started to like go out of the house and meet up with people. And I was only doing that for band practice. And then I only started going to gigs when I started playing gigs, and gradually was starting to feel more comfortable with people again. And it really like yeah, it's connected us to all these different people, and not just people in my band, but people who are putting on gigs, or people who work for different arts organizations, work in venues, or radio presenters and stuff like that. And other bands that I've got to know and sort of become like almost like you become like support network for the other bands that are around. Um, and I would have none of that without making music again. Um, and putting myself out there and sort of taking a chance. And yeah, like there's sometimes when I think I'm making a friend with someone and then it never sort of like materializes. It doesn't become ever meeting up or whatever. You're just chatting to someone online and they never they never ever want to see you in real life.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like it can be upsetting, but like I'd because I'm getting like I've just turned 39, so there's an element of I yes, I get embarrassed and yes, things can upset us and what have you, but I'm willing to take those risks more now than when I was younger because the potential payoff of like making a great new friend or having a collaboration with someone is much greater. Like it's worth the risk.
I love that. I think because I was in a similar position to the one you were describing, and like I only really went out to go to well where I now work. Funnily enough, and like I'd go to my music group, and then I'd go home and I'd sit in my flat for a week, and then go out again. And it's slowly but surely, I've gained the confidence, and then I started volunteering there, and then they offered me to do some hosting and playing, and I think it does bring you out of your shell with
Mhm,
and with music and stuff. And like you said, it has helped you connect and make friends that way. And I wouldn't be sat here talking to you without music, to put it bluntly.
mhm,
Like I love doing, like I love discussing things, and I love conversations like this where you can sort of discuss similar situations and similar sort of not similar opinions. I know what I'm trying to say. Like you can discuss
experiences?
experiences. That's the word. You can discuss similar experiences and learn. And like you're about 10 years older than me. I'm 29, and like I did this course a few years ago on autism, and that when you hit about 30, you become 30, whereas beforehand you're about like 2/3 of your age mentally,
Mhm,
something like that, which I found interesting. Now I'm 6 months off 30, and suddenly I've grown up and I've got a job and I'm sorting my life out,
mhm,
slowly unpicking all, sort of, for lack of a better term, slowly unpicking all the,
mhm,
and it's been an interesting learning curve, and I don't think, again, like I said, I don't think a lot of that would have happened for me without the experiences I've had and the situations that I've had with my music group and stuff like that. And I am grateful, and I mean, Autism Able now, I'm very grateful for everything they've done for me. So
I think that's meant, and I think the thing is like when you've experienced some challenges and barriers in life, like autistic people do and disabled people do, you sort of you can start to make like excuses for yourself in the sense that there's not a reason to do XYZ or it might go wrong or that does that person really like me or uh, and I think when you've got the excuse to do something when you've got like for instance we wouldn't know each other if we
mm,
weren't having this conversation um we're having a very nice conversation where we're relating with things that the other person is saying
yeah,
and but there would be absolutely no excuse for us to speak if it wasn't for music in this situation. So you sort of get forced into situations that you wish you could just put yourself into, but that there's all these reasons and all this stuff that's happened in the past that like trauma and what have you
yeah,
of times when you have tried to put yourself in situations and it's gone wrong or whatever. But you get forced into these situations and then can really benefit from them. Things that other people might think, well, course you can just go and chat to someone like that you meet like at a pub or something. You can whereas like I'd be like, but what if they thought that I was like trying to chat them up? And and what if I didn't get that they hated us or whatever? Like
yeah,
there would be all these things that I would be second guessing. Um and I think this is one of the things about like being autistic and wanting to know the rules and for everything to be clear. Um but yeah, I think it sounds great what you've described about how you've benefited from being part of something. And I had experience like that um, with a place called the Cave. Um, so Autism Able used to be based in, well, it was then
Yes.
called the Custom Space, but it was called the Cave when I was younger, and I just used to go there to practice, and then I was recording there, and then I just hung out there all the time because they had like a CD copier and a printer that printed on CDs, so we could
It's
like
amazing.
record a demo and then make loads of copies of the demo and send them out. Um, and I was just there all the time. And then eventually, like, I got a job there because I was just there, and they knew that I could handle what people like wanted to do if they came in. So it sounds very similar, and that led
Yeah,
to
it does.
things for me.
It does. It feels. It almost feels like I'm sort of talking to myself 10 years in the future in a way.
and and before I joined that, before I started going to that, I'd always sort of thought, I don't join things. Like I don't take part. I I come up with stuff myself, and I had friends and stuff, but like I would always be developing little projects and fun things to do for us as a group of friends. And I mean a very small group of friends. But
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, starting to do like filmmaking projects and music things all led to like me like being part of stuff that I would have totally excluded myself from like just a few years earlier.
yeah. And I think that's exactly how I feel. I wouldn't go to gigs or anything. I love gigs now. I love going to gigs. It's one of my favorite things. I got a lot of, like I said, I got a lot of metal gigs and stuff. I've got a few booked, and I've started like it's sort of given me the confidence to not just go to like the NX or uh whatever the arena's called this week because it keeps changing its flipping name. Um, I think it's the Utilita now. I don't know.
That is what it is.
But
Still
it's
National
sort of
Radio to me.
yeah. So well, what was it? I can't remember what it was when I because it was yeah the radio arena and then it changed to something else and now it's the Utilita. Um. Anyway, I digress. Um. And it's sort of given me the confidence to go further afield. It's given me the confidence. I'm going up to Birmingham a couple of times next year to go see different gigs. Out going up to Birmingham, going up to Glasgow. Even I went down to Birmingham a few weeks ago for Sabbath, and like it has given me that sort of confidence to be able to go further afield. I mean, I'm traveling to America in a few months to not for music related stuff, but it's to go meet people and go meet friends that I've made online that I've met through music or video games or just stuff that I'm generally just interested
Mhm,
in. And I think, like I said, without that sort of base, sort of I've pushed myself into doing this because I wanted to do it with the music group. I don't think I'd have been able to do any of that. And it's fascinating to me how much it has affected my life as a human being, not just like just be even beyond the autism sort of thing. Like 3 years ago, I wouldn't have 3 or 4 years ago, I wouldn't have gone anywhere.
mhm.
I like sitting in my flat with my cat.
So I used like I said, I used to make comic books, and before that, like I'd always read comics when I was a kid, and I knew that there was like comic conventions in London and in America and things, but I'd always assumed, and maybe this might be an autistic thing, right? I'd always just thought that's for other people. They're not here, so I can't go, even though I was well aware that there are such things as trains. But there's just a block in your mind where I'd never even considered that I could go to a different place to go to a comic convention. And then when I started making my own comics, I was hanging around comic creators, and they were all going to a comic convention in Leeds called Thought Bubble. And then I went there one year. Then the next year I had a table there, and then would go to every convention and have a table at it, and traveling around the country basically, meeting loads of different people, having a great time, selling my comics, buying more comics than I'd sold in most of the time. Um, and and that is what doing that sort of made us realize that actually you can go away to go to a gig. I always loved music, but I'd never see like one of my favorite bands or whatever would be playing in a different city. And it would never cross my mind that I could just go to that city and watch that gig. But it never occurred to us. And that's stupid. But like it wasn't even like deselecting. It was just it would never have I would never have entered my mind that that was possible.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's just going, oh, they're playing there. Oh, okay, well, maybe next time they'll come to
Yeah.
Newcastle or yeah, no, exactly the same. Like, I mean, it happens quite a lot. Like, it happens quite a lot. Like, there's a lot of bands that just kind of skip Newcastle, unfortunately, and it's like I really want to see this band, but what, how am I meant to get there? I forget trains exist and I forget
Mhm.
buses exist and just it's like, oh well, maybe next time they'll come to the arena, or maybe next time they'll come to the NX or something. It's like, oh, I think it's a really weird block in your mind,
Mhm.
and I think sort of unpicking that is a massive positive.
Definitely. So, in terms of future collaboration festival and the stage,
Yes,
should we talk about that a bit after?
we can do.
Is that
So
what that's for I'm just asking the question, is that what are we
I
trying
mean,
to promote that as well, or
yeah, we can do because I know you're playing it. Um, Spoilers. Yes. So everybody knows Daniel's going to be on the future collaboration stage at the Maripalooza Festival, um, um, which I have co-curated. Is the word I put? You were on my sort of list of bands that I wanted to sort of book from the start because I knew we have talked before on Facebook. Oh, camera. Uh, yeah, my camera's working.
yeah.
We have talked before on Facebook a few years ago,
Hmm.
and I specifically remember this because we were meant to have a Future Collaborations Festival in 2023
Mhm.
that unfortunately got cancelled. And I remember they asked me to host, and I went round every single artist's Facebook and I messaged them all. It's like, can you tell me about your music? I am going to listen to a bit, and then I'll send you what I've written for your band.
Yes.
And I do this. I still do this. I still do this. I've done this for the past future collaborations festivals that did happen. So I specifically remember, and that's part of the reason I wanted to book you is because I found your music interesting, and then I can't remember who told me about your neurodivergence. I think it might have been Ian
Ian?
Black might have
Yeah.
mentioned it, and it's like, yeah, well, that's perfect. That'd be a perfect one of the like a perfect banter book.
Yeah, so there's
So
at least 3 people in the band there's 3 people who identify as neurodivergent in the band.
yeah.
Um, I always think that if I get on with people, then there's a chance that they are neurodivergent, but it's not for me to diagnose other people as much as I want
Oh,
to.
yeah, oh yes, I have several friends who for lack of a better term scream the words "I have autism."
But no, it's something that plays a lot in the lyrics that I write. So I've always been quite open about it in how I talk about the band because I also think like yes, a lot of musicians are probably neurodivergent, but like it's it's probably good for people to know that there are bands out there who are like proudly have members who are like
Yeah.
autistic or have ADHD or whatever.
I agree. I mean, one of the biggest metal bands of all time, Sabbath. Ozzy Osbourne had ADHD, and I only found that out after he passed away, unfortunately. And that's massive, massive. Like that was a massive like hit for me. I mean, I cried
Mhm.
anyway when he passed, but that hit me even more. It's like he's neurodivergent like me, and I mean, obviously he did a lot of things in his life, um, but it's still kind of for lack of a better term, he made it. He managed to get over the hurdles that are there for neurodivergent people, and I think having the Maripalooza Festival and having the Future Collaborations stage, which I was asked to try and book some neurodivergent acts. I think having that um, is a big positive, and someone that's neurodivergent co-curating, and I am allowed to put some of the bands that I'm interested in there,
Hmm.
and some of the bands that I think will sort of fit the criteria for the Future Collaborations project from that we get money from Youth Music for, and then the neurodivergent side of it, and mixing in my little things that I'm interested in. So we may have at least one metal band on there.
Well, that's meant.
Exactly. It's a very
Actually,
it's a
sorry.
very eclectic mix of music because we've got your like sort of indie alt pop sort of thing. It's that's the way I describe your music, if you don't mind me saying.
That's
And
yeah.
then we've got some surf rock, and we've got a thrash metal band, and it's all different genres of music all sort of meshed together, and that's almost like it feels almost like that's what being neurodivergent is sometimes. It's just a lot
Mhm,
of stuff just sort of meshed together in a different way.
mhm.
And I think I mean I've been learning a lot about like how booking bands works and stuff like that, and I'll be doing a lot of stage managing, so if you see me running around like a headless chicken on the day, um feel free to stop me and say hi and just tell me to calm down for 5 minutes. Honestly, if anybody's watching, like the people that are watching, if you see me running around like a headless chicken, tell me to calm down, because I've got a one-track mind as well, and I won't until it's done, and then I'll collapse onto my bed when I get home and sleep for 12 hours. That'll be a
You'll
glorious,
actually be
glorious
able to
sleep.
sleep because after we've played, it takes me a very, very long time to wind down and for my brain not to be going like through everything and thinking
Yes.
about and thinking. So it takes me a long time to be able to sleep after playing. Um, but yeah, we're really, really looking forward to playing Maripalooza. We're going to be pulling out a couple of older songs off some of the previous albums. We've got brand new songs that haven't been released yet. Um, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it. And we're just really glad to be part of it and finally be doing something with you guys, future collaborations, because we were really looking forward to that first event. So we're pleased that it's finally sort of coming together with us being on one of your bills. So we're really looking forward to that. It's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Honestly, so am I. Like I said, I mean, I really like your music. It's not. I found a lot, especially starting like I've started this podcast. I'm gonna continue this podcast after Maripalooza. This sort of podcast was me and Ian talked about doing something like this during the last Future Collaborations Festival back in April, and I'm gonna continue this because I found that doing this and talking to all these different acts, like I talked to the Milk Lizards last week,
Hmm.
who are like a surf rock band, and they were really interesting to talk to. But their music is very different to what I'd listen to, and so is yours. Like I said, I like my metal, very much so. It's very ingrained in my soul at this point, and in my arm with all the metal tattoos I have. Um, but I found it interesting listening to all these different genres of music that I can put on not my main playlist, but like on a different playlist for something that I when I need something a bit calmer or I need something
Mhm.
a bit more sort of upbeat's probably the wrong word because there's quite a lot of upbeat metal, but like sort of different to the norm, sort of almost a wind down playlist from what I normally listen to.
Mhm. No, well, that's good, and I think that's good that it's, like, introducing you to different things that you wouldn't have heard otherwise or whatever, yeah. I think there's loads of good stuff happening locally. There's loads of great bands around at the minute. Um, and my when I was 20 years ago, when I was really into music, the local scene was great, and that was when the Futureheads and Field Music and so Ian Black, who you work with, who has Slug now, he was in a band called The Bubble Project then, which I think at least one of the Milk Lizards was in that band as well.
Hmm.
Um, and there was the Golden Virgins, and all these bands were like putting out their own. Well, there were a lot of them were on record labels and being played on like John Peel and Radio One's late night programs and stuff. And it was amazing to hear these local bands who are from literally like up the road to where I lived, um, and hear them being massively successful. And that was really inspiring because you could like I would go to the bridges in Sunderland and bump into like a member of Field Music or something, or like go to a gig and a future head would be there. Um,
Yeah,
and
I got to meet Barry from the Futureheads last week. He's lovely.
yeah, they're just and it's just great. Like there was those people on my doorstep that I was like reading about in the NME and stuff. And now I think there's loads of great artists and really, really varied genres and stuff locally. So, yeah, one of the good things about being in a band or being involved in local music is that you hear stuff that you wouldn't like. It might not have been your thing before or whatever, like, or you wouldn't have thought it would be your thing, but then you listen to it and you're like, oh, actually, I'm getting something really nice from this that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
I agree, and I think especially like I need to where are we? I think like learning about especially acts that are from around here like I need to find the name of a band because I met some people from a band called Maxima Park.
Hmm.
Um and it was very weird to me because I'd heard of Maxima Park when I was a kid through Guitar Hero.
All
I
right.
was, I was like, oh, who are these people? I was playing your music 16, 17 years ago on Guitar Hero, and now you just stood here in a changing room with me. This is a very weird
Yeah.
experience, and I think stuff like that is magical.
Yeah, it's meant like we whenever I go to gigs in Sunderland and stuff, I always bump into like Ross, and he's from the Future Heads, and he's like so friendly, and you can just be like having a laugh with Ross, and then like Ian will be there, and like Brewisters and stuff like that, and it's like it's it's really not like it's not really about like hero worship or anything like that, but it's like seeing people that you admire the artistry of, and also seeing that they're and maybe this is something about being autistic and not having a lot of like self confidence, but feel like you're being accepted by people that you like have have enjoyed the music of and the artistry of for like years.
Yeah,
It's really like a powerful thing, and I don't think they can be totally aware of that, and maybe it would drive them insane if they were aware of it.
yeah,
But like, it's really special that there's that they're in a these people are in a position now where they're creating opportunities for other people, and their warmth and generosity and their commitment to what's happening locally is it's really important, and I think that's what that's what I really love about um, being in Sunderland at the minute is that all those people that I was looking up to when I was a kid are now, and I'm not massively younger than them, but when you're younger, those gaps seem
Yeah.
like much bigger. Um, but yeah, those people are the ones who are like leading the local scene in terms of having venues and schools and working in the like music city and stuff like that. Um, and it's really great that they're sort of putting something back into the scene and creating these opportunities and guiding other people through their like their music creation.
I think it is. It's not necessarily passing the torch, but helping light another one is the best
Mhm.
way I can describe it. And I agree. It's really cool. Like, I mean, I didn't know who the hell Slug were until I met Ian, to be honest. But now I know who Slug are, and like I know who Ian is, and I've seen him play, and I've seen him make his mates dress up in lederhosen. It's like I kind of get it, and the fact that I get to work with this guy, I'm gonna inflate his ego. That's all I need. Um, he's gonna have. I'm gonna see him on Thursday. I'm gonna see him on Thursday once I've edited this. He's gonna head out here. Um, but like I've seen how he works and I've seen how he plays music, and it's now I get to work with him and do what I do. Work with like autistic kids and like autistic young people, and have cats stroke my microphone with their face, and um, it genuinely it is inspiring,
Mhm.
and yeah, and like I said, I got to meet Barry from the Future Heads, who was helping a young lad. The young lad Seth ended up doing most of the sound, and it was like Barry. It was almost like an apprenticeship. I don't know what it was, but it was really cool to see just like Barry helping Seth, and then Seth managing to do most of pretty much all the show by himself. It was really cool to see.
And I think the thing, because I've been in that role where I've like led workshops for younger people and led projects for younger people and stuff, and at the time you're just doing your job and just doing the thing that like comes naturally to you, and you've got this goal of getting to the end of the project, and you're not really aware of what impact you might be having because people don't necessarily always tell you, and if they do tell you, then you sort of take with a pinch of salt or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, but it is really important that people like give back and I think and that everyone like supports each other, or not supports everybody, but like you need you find your sort of tribe as it called, and you try to go out there and support each other and like I'm I'm always ready with some unsolicited advice for other people, but also ready for to give solicited advice as well.
yeah,
And I'm ready to take advice from people. Um, Not always with a smiling face.
yeah, yeah. No, I
but
get that.
um, but no, I think it's really nice what's happening locally, and it's hard because there isn't loads of money and there's not loads of opportunities, um and the and there's still not massive audiences for what's happening always, but it's like finding the right people who are the audience and
Yeah,
trying to encourage them to come to things. So you were talking about like Ian getting dressed up as Slug. One of the things that I've always had in my head is that we want to make like our show interest, and so what we've done is like in the past I've worn like wings. I've my girlfriend's an artist and she made like wings for us, and I paint my face and stuff. Um, and some of the others wear masks, and we've made t-shirts that have got different symbols on them and stuff. So we try and make like a thing. So it's not just, oh, we went to a gig and some people got on stage and played guitars. because
Yeah.
that's like you could see that everywhere. Um, so yeah, we're going through a bit of a transition at the minute because we're going from the look and feel of the last album, and we'll be going towards the next one. So um, this next gig, the Marapalooza gig, is probably going to be a bit of a like mismatch of like the visuals and things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got these ideas for like what's going to happen next. But yeah, like I think we always try and put on a show for people, and and yeah, I think sometimes people who know us are surprised with the way that I like perform because I can be quite quiet, and I mean I can also talk loads, but considered, whereas on stage I can sort of let loose and be like myself basically. The self that is like inside.
Yeah, sort of the mask. I mean, you put your wings on, your mask drops off almost.
Literally painting a mask on my face, but the metaphorical mask comes off.
Yeah, no, I think there's a few bands like that, and like I think it's good. Like it you can show certain aspects that you wouldn't be able to show
Mhm.
otherwise. I know the biggest thing that comes to mind with that sort of thing, and it's not gonna sound weird because it makes sense, but like Slipknot, I like that in that they put the masks on to sort of be able to unleash certain aspects, and especially during like the first couple of albums,
Yeah, it makes
all the
complete
sort of
sense.
anger. Yeah.
It makes complete sense. So I did a drama degree, um, and that was because wanted to do a script writing degree, but there wasn't one locally. So, but there was drama and script writing. So I did a drama degree, and part of that was like uh, a bit where we did mask work. So you put masks on and you act in like a different way. And that was, even though it sounds corny, but that was one of the things that I really enjoyed. And actually, like, I was able to perform in a different way than what I normally would. And I think like a sort of scary, a scary,
Yeah.
creepy sort of like character came out. Um, which I hope is not like me. And and uh, and yeah, so what with the performing as part of the band, I think we're all quite maybe quite considered people. Um, so I'm trying to like unleash something in the band by having this visual sort of identity and these visual cues. Um, but yeah, it's interesting because it comes naturally to me, and it's not necessarily something that every that we have some discussions in the band about what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. Let's say,
No,
um,
that's fair. I'm just wondering as well because I'm looking. I've got two screens, so it looks like I'm being rude, but I am looking
no,
directly
I
at
didn't
you.
think you were being
The
rude.
camera's like here. I'm looking directly at you. Um, like stuff like the album art for Building the Bird.
Hmm.
It's like where did the idea for that come from?
So on the first two albums, there was no band, so it was just me and so my girlfriend's called Jenny Road, and like I said, she's an artist and in a similar position to me where she hadn't been doing much art, but then because I needed like photography and covers and things, like again, it goes back to us talking about like excuses. She had an excuse to like be doing something.
Mm.
So we for the cover of a Building the Bird, we were watching a documentary about well, we were talking about the sort of art that I liked, and I was showing her all like new wave and post punk covers and where they have lots of like very very like graphic in terms of shapes, like bold shapes and bold colors. And I was showing her that, and she was like, "Oh, I think you're like Bridget Riley." Watch a documentary about an artist called Bridget Riley, um, and I loved her work. So we started having that conversation. I was saying, I want these certain colors and I want some bold shapes. And then we started having a conversation about, well, the album's going to be called Building the Bird, and maybe these shapes could be almost like elements of the bird that is being built. So there's like some shapes that represent feathers, um, shapes that represent like wings or the body, um, head, beak. There's all these the so that's the sort of idea, but it's quite abstract in a way.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't necessarily look at it and go, "Oh, that's meant to be like um, the instructions or whatever." Um,
Yeah. It's
but
quite an
that's where
abstract flat pack bird.
And that's where, and one of the conversations that we kept having was just like, this, the size doesn't work between this shape and that shape. And I kept having to say, like, yeah, but it doesn't literally have to build it. Like, when no one is going to do that, it can be, but again, that's that people having different um, communication needs and ways of taking things. Sometimes I can be very like abstract in my thinking. Sometimes she can be very literal in her thinking. So
Yeah.
there's often we're talking in like sort of cross purposes, but sometimes that's really fun because you end up with something else that like there's different. You sort of work out, right? How's this going to work for everybody? But yeah, I really liked doing that cover, and we tried doing it a lot of different ways, and it lent itself to the singles because then we had the singles were like um there was 4 singles, and we did like an element of the cover for each of the singles.
Yeah.
Um, which yeah, so I really liked doing that. But then with the last album, Hide, that one, because it was sort of more about like spooky stuff, um, we we went out to a standing stone circle in Northumberland, almost in Scotland, called Dodo Five Stones, and me, Jenny, and Chris plays bass. We went up there and took pictures of the stone circle, and then I did a lot of editing on the images. And I don't have like Photoshop. I've got editing software that I'm not as um, like I didn't know how to do everything in it. So I probably did a lot of things in the longest possible way. But I loved making the hide cover, and loads of people. So that's a photo that Jenny took, and then I did all of the like the editing on it. But I loved doing that, and loads of people were really pleased with like people in the band were pleased with it, and then loads of people like commented saying how much they loved the cover and stuff. So that was really nice. And we also recorded some audio as we walked up to the stone circle. We recorded some audio, and that's the first sounds on the album.
Mm. Yeah.
um so there's all this stuff that's like, it sort of is stuff that amuses me or amuses us that no one really needs to know. And it
Yeah.
um
But it all sort of mixes in your head.
yeah,
And it's like an Easter egg just for you almost.
yeah, a lot of my life is spent trying to make me laugh, or make me interested in stuff. um and if other people get something out of it, then great. But the point is often just trying to amuse myself in some way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're your own worst critic at times, and I think make if you can rest to use the wrestling term, if you can pop yourself, then you're at least halfway to popping someone
Hmm.
else.
Hmm.
I'm just looking at the hide from cover now. It's really creepy. It's very Wicker Man.
Yeah, well, that's exactly the that's that folk horror sort of feel that I was talking about before. Um, I love I read lots of like old ghost stories and old scary short stories and novels and stuff, and watch films like Wicker Man and the other uh, like Children of the Stones and stuff like that. And that all comes into the music in it might not be always at the forefront, but it's in there if people want to see it. It was very much in the forefront when it was the front cover.
Yeah. Yep. Well, genuinely, Daniel, it's been a lovely conversation. It's been lovely chatting with you. Where can people find you around the internet?
So it's been really really nice for me. Really love chatting. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and I'm really pleased that we're booked for the festival as well. So I'm looking forward to that. If people want to find us online, if they can spell amateur ornithologist, then that's a good starting point. If you can't spell it, then Google what you think is spelled like, uh, and hopefully that'll take you to the spelling. Then put that in Instagram, and you'll find we're also on. So we're just at amateur ornithologist on Instagram, and you can find the Facebook the same way. And we have a Bandcamp page which has merchandise, CDs, and all of our music on there. It's got some stuff that isn't on Spotify, and more in the future, there'll be more stuff there that isn't on Spotify. So that's just amateurornithologist.bandcamp.com. And I think that's pretty much everywhere where we are on the internet. Uh, and yeah, we're playing Marapalooza. Um, and then we've got a gig later in the year in the Victoria Tunnel. So we're going to play a spooky
Ooh.
gig around Halloween. So it's in October in Victoria Tunnel in Oosburn, and we're going to play our spooky songs in there. So that's going to be really, and we're going to launch a new single, and that's like a spooky single as well.
Ooh, that sounds really really fun. What do you have a date on that? I'm gonna see.
That's on the 17th of October. It's not on sale yet. It's not like officially announced yet, but like
There's an
that's
exclusive. Ooh.
that's fine. um, but yeah, I really need to get that talk to the tunnel people and and we can get that on sale and stuff. But I'm really looking forward to that. I want to make that, like I was saying before, I want to make every gig like an event. So that one is we don't play loads of gigs, um, and when we do, we try to do something different at them. Um, so that one is going to be spooky,
Mm.
definitely going to be spooky. And Marapalooza is going to be like fun. We're going to do
Yeah.
our fun songs for
Not
the
gonna
fest.
be spooky. Not gonna be
There
spooky.
will be
Middle
some
of August.
spooky. There will be some spookiness. There's always some spookiness when I'm about.
I tell you what I'll do. That I will link your. You've got a link tree,
Mhm.
so I will link your link tree in the description, and then people
Amazing.
can find you where they want to find you via that.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much. I've loved this.
Thank you very very much, Daniel. It's been fantastic, and I will see everybody next time.